Welcome to CX in the Wild, here live at CCW. Natalie, it's amazing to have you live and in person. I think we've been trying for a year since the last show to get together in person and do something live. Let's start out by just sharing with the audience who you are and what you do.
Okay, my name is Natalie Beckerman. I am currently the Global Head of Customer Support Operations for IHG Hotels and Resorts.
Wow, fancy title. What do you believe in?
What do I believe in? What does that mean?
Fair enough. What do you believe in when it comes to customer experience? And I just say that because so many times the title and the name or the brands draw us into a conversation that's not really about you as a leader and what you've become.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I have been literally obsessed with customer satisfaction for literally my whole life. So, starting out as a young kid, I noticed that people deserved better in terms of their customer service. And I want to give customers what they want. If you want to call just to make a reservation, let's give you that. Let's make it easy to, book with us, to make a reservation. If you want to call and complain, you should also make it easier to help the customer complain. And so for me, it's really about making the world an easier place for customers to get what they need and what they want. And that could be through voice, it could be through the web, it could be digitally, it could be in any one of those channels.
Just really being part of the customers' lives on their terms, it sounds like.
Yeah, maybe, transacting in the way that they want to transact, making that available. Some people much prefer to pick up the phone. Some people much prefer not to.
Yeah, I'm not one of those.
Yeah, I'm actually the opposite. I'm actually whatever's going to be quickest to fix my issue or resolve my issue or help me do what I need to do, whatever that is.
I see that. I think just now when I answered your phone call, that was like the third phone call I've answered in the last year.
Oh, wow. I feel honored.
I'm normally text people back, why are you calling me? So I think we all as the audience would agree with what you've said and what you believe in. But what we also know is that implementing that at any scale is nearly impossible.
Agree.
So believing in it and implementing it, and in the hospitality industry, you have a convergence of touch points coming at you that most brands do not. I would not think that it's even possible to provide customer experiences at your level. What is the basic core knowledge or the core principle or the North Star that has allowed you to even make progress in this area?
I think, again, it's actually being smart about it. Now,
Just be smart.
Well, let me rephrase that, because we have to be efficient. We can't try and be effective as well. Just be efficient. You have to have both. And like you said, you're not always going to be able to provide those levels of service. And so I think as an organization, as a company, I've worked for many different industries. I've worked in telco, I've worked in home services. That for me is the dream, but it's not possible, like you said. So you have to be smart about it. What's the best way to, you take your call types or your call reasons and you decide, how do we want to support those? Is it going to be digitally? Does it make sense to make it digitally? For example, for me, if a customer wants a copy of a bill, I want to make it easy for them to get the bill. I don't want to speak to them. It should be, yes, we want a copy of my bill, make it easy, send it out. It might be a back office, function or someone sending it out after, but it should be really easy. We allow the customer to request that in the website. Smart, right? You don't want to take that call. So for me, I think sometimes in terms of wanted calls, not wanted calls, or what's best for this type of call reason.
Fair enough. Instead of getting all into the how-tos of things, because I have you here, we're at the biggest customer experience event in the world. Yeah. What do you think what is happening in our industry right now? What is the present like from your perspective?
Yeah, I love that question. I also sit on the CCW advisory board, and there's no forgetting that AI is the biggest topic around, right? And I think everybody's going to have to learn to embrace it. I think in our industry, there's a lot of people pushing it away and fighting it, and also not sure how to deliver it. People need training on what is appropriate to deliver. When is it appropriate? How do you know if you're ready to deliver it? What do you need to do to ready yourselves to get AI delivered? And so I think that is one of the biggest topics in the industry. And it's how do you know when you're ready and what to use it for? And so
I feel like there's a collaborative little micro content series we need to do together.
I'm all for that. I'm being harassed with passerbyers here.
Well, you're famous. You're like royalty, CCW royalty.
Oh, that's sweet. I wish that were true. No, there's so many brilliant people here, but I think we're all facing the same issues right now. Like, what is appropriate to put in? Do I have this readiness in my organization? Do I want to spend the money on it? And then there's like a lot of people who are concerned it's going to take jobs away. I can guarantee you, like, we are going to always need human element to it. But it's like, how can you use AI to drive efficiency, to drive effectiveness? How can you make it easier for your customers? And, the other thing, people are worried that you can hear whether it's an AI voice, like in conversational AI. Does that really matter? Who cares?
No, it doesn't.
Exactly. And so, like, I'm going around here challenging everyone, and like, who cares if it's AI? Are you getting what you need resolved?
Yeah. You bring up always great points. I'll just go along with you on that tangent, which is, can I just reframe this, which is the hubris and the arrogance and the egos and the toxic conception that somehow, I don't know how people get on these trains, but if you separate all the hype out and you just say, yeah, so we're going to get rid of people in our industry. That's just like the most psychotic thing you ever. No, that's never going to happen. Right. We're never going to eliminate humans from business.
Right. Agree. I mean, what we should be saying is, we can utilize our people to maybe work on more complex issues and to really help customers in different ways than we've ever been able to help them, because I can segment in terms of how I'm going to, use AI to help in more simpler ways to transact.
Let me share with you. So yesterday, the CEO of Centrical, are you familiar with that brand?
Yes.
CEO of Centrical came to my hotel room. I was doing some interviews there, and I was talking to him about his philosophy, and he had this personal perspective where using AI to provide not just one or two or three, but more careers in the same organization is sort of his North Star.
Interesting. I mean, how do you make that assumption knowing that's the right answer? I don't know. I'm
curious. His, if you peel back the layers of that onion, one of his basic theses is that sometimes businesses will hire for a price point. So X dollars per agent. Mm-hmm. And that when the agent has outlived their usefulness or they have attrition, they continue to buy more commodities of agents at a certain price point. And his basic thesis is, if you take those agents and while they're with you, use AI to train them and upskill them, but create a personalized relationship with the learning inside the context of the organization, that they will essentially move themselves up to their next job and the next job. They'll elevate. And I think you are reaching to that, which is AI making it easier for people to do more.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way. I didn't look at it that way before, actually, when you said that. So, look, the AI is going to need training. Human beings are going to always need training, right? So I think there is some synergy there. Like, that's really interesting thought process.
Well, of course, you just turned right back on my head, because now you're right. The AI still needs training too. So I know you have a hard stop, so I want to just maximize our time together. Let's talk about why you're successful as a leader. And let's talk about, you cultivate, I just described you to someone else and I said, Natalie's the kind of person that has done this long enough and is good enough that she has some flexibility to color outside of the lines. And I think what you do is you take risks to grow the culture or the potential of your teams. Can you talk a little bit about that for our audience?
Yeah, I guess I've been a risk taker for a while, so you've got me sussed. I'm not someone who likes to be put in a box or not take a risk, but I think in our industry, you have to be willing to try new things, right? Like, so many people are doing the same thing and they're doing it over and over and they're probably not getting the best result. So for me as a leader, I want my people to not be afraid to fail. I want my people not to be afraid to try new things. And I want to allow my people, and including myself, to be able to try things that are completely different because they might actually solve the problems that we have. And so, like, one of the things I'm proposing right now is to use real-time voice translation something very new on the market to solve a very, very expensive issue that we have with servicing our customers. And so, I'm pushing boundaries all the time, like pushing.
That is, we've heard about people wanting to use real-time language translation, but pushing that boundary and delivering it, for those of you pioneers who do solve for that and can scale it even on some level, you're going to be transformative, not just for the brand you're in, but for all of us to see the potential. When you push the boundaries, of course, technology, you're in a great vantage point to see the horizon and pick technologies. But what does it mean to push the boundaries for empowering the agents?
Yeah, great question. You know what? Allowing them to talk to customers in a way that the situation fits. So they can get emotional. They can show emotion. They don't have to be process, right? Too often we say, oh, I can't do that because I'm not allowed to do that. It's like, how do you think it's best to service the customer in the way that they need to be served?
All right, so I'm going to get vulnerable here. I don't even know if I should do this, but we have a couple of minutes. Vulnerable moment for me. I've done a lot of work in South Africa, and I did have an agent reach out to me. I met her on my travels, and a year later, she called me, she WhatsApped me and said, hey, I met you in South Africa. I've been out of work for quite a while.
Wow.
And just putting it out there that I could really use some help with my family. And as you know, agents in that part of the world, they don't cost a ton of money. So I WhatsApped her back and I said, first thing, you're hired. I don't even know what for, and I'm sending you a paycheck now because I already know a month of salary for you is something I can do and I will do it. So I sent it to her. So she was like, okay, great. What are we going to do? And I said, well, I don't know. Let's figure it out. Long story short, there were a number of other agents also. So I ended up with my own little micro call center in South Africa that I have right now.
Nice.
So here's what my vulnerable moment to you is. First of all, I don't know anything about running a call center, but they do. But one of the things that was blindingly different from, because I'm outside of the industry, I don't have the rules. They were making some calls and I was listening to the recordings and the people were rude to them. And they were like in a script mode, like just taking it. And I followed up and I said, from now on, the minute anyone is rude to you, just say, I can see you're not someone we want to talk to, and pass. And I have the luxury in that, but I feel what you do, which is I was like, this is not a job for you to be punished. We reach out to people to offer them a benefit from the global voice of CX. We should be a beacon of hope and positivity to them. And if people are rude to you, take them off our list.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, first of all, I love that you helped, these agents out in South Africa. Amazing. But secondly, I mean, I think they're super lucky because they have a chance to help you in terms of delivering something so critical. But I think you're right. I think the world does treat people really badly on phones, and it's not fair. And I don't think anyone should ever have to handle abuse or frustration on a phone. But again, I think that's a skill set we do have to teach our people, like how to de-escalate a situation, how to de-escalate an angry customer, but also to remind them that they're here to help them. They're calling to help, and they're taking the call to help them. And so I think that's one thing that I have always taught my agents in the past. Like, if you're being abused on a phone, you absolutely can let the caller know you're going to hang up and you're going to disconnect the call.
See,
and
this is why I love leaders like you. Thank you for being that way, because at your level, you either indirectly or overtly or inovertly, you do set the culture and stage for our entire industry in some level. And having leaders like you makes a huge difference to those agents everywhere.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I mean, there was one company I worked at where one of our agents was being abused on the phone terribly. And she was it was a customer who wanted to renew their insurance policy, or their policy, I should say. And she was literally being abused, and she kept trying to disconnect the call, and he made a huge complaint. But in the end, I actually said, we will not accept you as a customer, because he not only was abusing the agent, he was being racist on the call. And I stuck up for her, and I got legal's approval to not take this customer. And it was huge. I mean, of course you want the revenue, right? It's huge. But I believe that like those agents have the hardest job, like the hardest job of anyone.
Yes, and I'll just chime in with you because I had a similar experience, not at your level of magnitude, but recently, because I book podcasts, I try to get voices, and I had a guest that I wanted to book, and my producers reached out, and then the guest got a little rude, and so I just jumped in the chain and I said, hey, we're going to pass right now on this interview. And my producer came back and said, why did you pass? We wanted that interview for so long. And I said, because they were rude to you, period.
Yeah, there's no room for that, right? And
it's unnecessary.
I mean, my closing words will be like, we just need to treat people and each other with respect, right? Absolutely. And that I think in contact centers, it's really easy to forget that these are human beings as well on calls. These are human beings interacting with human beings.
Natalie, I'm going to let you have those final words. I know you have a hard stop. Thank you for stopping in and being on the show today.
Loved it. Thank you very much.